Hi, good morning everybody. This is Candace here with Solstice Counseling, and we are continuing our series of Monday Facebook Lives on the different attachment styles. And today we're going to be concluding our deep dive into the Anxious Preoccupied Attachment Style. So if you've been hanging out with me this whole time, hopefully you have learned a lot, maybe about yourself or somebody that you know that has this attachment style that has helped you understand yourself or them better. Just again, by way of quick introduction, if you don't know me, my name is Candace and I own Solstice Counseling and Consulting, which is a private therapy practice here in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I help people recover from the effects of harmful, neglectful parenting. And I also love to work with couples and help them regain intimacy in their partnership that may have been missing for a really long time. So nice to see you if you've been around for a while, and nice to meet you if you're new here. So today we're going to talk about the 5 relationship expectations that anxious, preoccupied folks tend to have. And I will just say that these are not the healthiest expectations. And this is my attachment style as well. So when I first read them, I felt a little called out. I was like, wow, this is like so accurate. But the very cool thing about knowing these expectations is that they operate at the subconscious level of mind out of our awareness, so that when we bring them up to the conscious level of mind and put them in our radar, we can actually look to see if there are needs that we can communicate and negotiate with people in our lives, or maybe it's activating a core wound, or we can really just use these expectations as information. There's a saying in 12-step rooms that expectations are premeditated resentments, which I love, because if we have these, for any attachment style, if we have these expectations floating around and we don't even know that they're there, we might be pissed off a lot in relationships, or feel unseen or unloved or unimportant, or whatever we make it mean. So we can really use these expectations as just kind of nuggets to look at, hey, is there something legitimate here that I could learn to translate into a need and directly ask for and negotiate with my partner or my friend or my family member or whoever it is. So, very quickly in review, we have covered the early childhood of the anxious preoccupied attachment styles, the core wounds, the needs, the emotional patterns, the activating behaviors, and today we're looking at expectations. So let's get right into it. So the first expectation that anxious preoccupieds tend to have, and this is mostly in romantic relationships, it can show up in, friendships or coworker relationships, but it tends to be more focused on romantic relationships, is that my partner should always be available to soothe my emotional needs. And if you remember, in childhood, APs never really learned how to self-soothe or how to emotionally regulate themselves. There was a lot of dependency on, the external world to do this. So often when we have an area like this of learned helplessness, and this is true of any attachment style, we're going to try to get other people to meet that need for us, or we have an expectation that we will, because we don't know how to do it for ourselves and it's uncomfortable. So we're just going to kind of put that off on someone else and hope they take care of it for us. And so this is really true with APs and having their partners soothing them. So this can look like, if you're going through a hard time, or you're having a bad day, or you're really struggling with something, there's a challenging time in your life, expecting your partner to be there for you, and oftentimes literally kind of drop whatever they're doing, whether they're at work and they're in a meeting, or they have a deadline, or there's something else going on in their lives. There can be this expectation of you should just focus on me and help me get through this hard time. And that should be like the biggest priority for you. And that's really unrealistic because, of course, you know, not everybody's going to be available all the time. There's going to be things that happen in our partners' lives, and there's going to be things going on that, you know, the person can't just drop everything and tend to us right then. So it's really important that we be able to learn how to soothe and emotionally regulate ourselves as APs. And that is some of the work that I do with clients, is helping them learn how to do that. Like, what does that actually mean? So I think it's, you know, the way to communicate this into a need might be something like, hey, I do really have a need for a partner who wants to be there for me and wants to support me and wants to show up for me. And let's talk about and negotiate, like, here's what that looks like for me and what does that look like for you, and come to some common agreement. Again, the expectations get us into trouble because they're not communicated. They're just floating around in our head. So the second AP expectation of relationships is my partner should always give me certainty about everything all the time. And this, again, is really unrealistic and really unfair to ourselves and to the other person. And the way this can show up for APs is like, let's say that, you know, you are dating somebody and you're tentatively have plans for the weekend, and your partner says like, yes, I think I can, you know, come over Saturday, but let me look at my schedule, or let me see if I have any conflicts and I'll let you know. And to the AP, it can trigger like core wounds of like, oh, well, they must not really like me, or they don't want to spend time with me, or I'm being rejected. Because we on the other end are sort of scrambling, and we're going, well, what do you mean? Why do you have to look? Like, I've looked at my calendar 6 months ahead of time, and I know every waking second that I can spend with you. Like, why wouldn't you do the same for me? Why can't you tell me now? So, you know, sometimes it can look like if there's a disagreement, or there's an argument, or there's, you know, some kind of challenge in the relationship, and one partner says like, hey, I need a little bit of time and space just to kind of sit with this and process this. Again, the need for certainty, or the expectation that the partner should always provide that for us, can look like, well, no, we need to hash this out right now. Like, we need to have a conversation and we need to get this resolved. Like, what do you mean you need space? I don't need space. Why should you need space? Like, am I not important? Is the relationship not important? So you can see how this is really unfair and doesn't honor the needs of the other person. And it also does us a disservice, again, because we don't learn how to provide that sense of certainty for ourselves. So a way to communicate this might be, you know, hey, of course, you can look at your schedule and get back to me. And certainty is important to me. Could you let me know when you might be able to tell me? You know, do you need an hour? Do you need a day to look? Or, you know, that's perfectly fine if you need some time and space. I really want to honor that. And I don't want to have this hanging out between us for like a week. So, you know, could you give me kind of a deadline or a time frame about when we might be able to speak about the conflict and get it resolved? That's actually putting your need for certainty forward, but in a way that also allows for space and permission for the other person to do the same thing. And then you negotiate. So then it becomes like a direct communication instead of this expectation where we as APs turn it into all kinds of things about how we don't matter, or we're not important, or we're not loved, or we're not liked, or we're excluded, or, you know, you can see how it kind of pings on all the core wounds. So the third relationship expectation that APs tend to have is my partner should always be able to read my mind and know what I want and know what I need at all times without me saying anything. And, you know, I will say this is a lot of times this is romantic, you know, movies give us this idea. And again, it's not fair to us, and it's not fair to the partner. It's not fair to us because we never learn to dig in and like really learn what it is that we need. And it's not fair to ask someone else to read our minds. Like, no one else can do that. So we tend to get like really kind of pissed off. If you remember, there was a few videos ago where we talked about like the activating behaviors that APs can tend to have when their core wounds get triggered. Things like criticizing or poking at their partner, or, you know, kind of a withdrawal or punishment or, clinging or, wanting to gain proximity. So a lot of times what happens is APs will engage in these behaviors and then they will expect their partner to immediately go like, hey, what's wrong? Like, I see that you need something. Instead of the APs learning like, oh, I need to communicate that this thing that you just said, like, it actually hurt my feelings, or I'm making up this story about it, or I'm making it mean this. Like, is that true? Like, I want to understand your side, but I also want to consider myself in the process. And I want to make sure that, we're coming to some like agreement or harmony about it. And no one can read your mind. So that's a really unhealthy, unfair expectation to put on people. And if, again, that's why it's so important to reprogram these core wounds, which is what I help clients with. It's so important to know your needs, which is what I help clients figure out, because then you can go to the person and say like, hey, yes, I am upset. I was upset. I'm making it mean this, well, let's talk about it and let's hash it out and let's get it resolved. So the fourth anxious, preoccupied, unrealistic expectation in relationship. And this one, it kind of cracks me up in a way because I see it all over for me and I see it all over for the clients that I work with, is relationship. The romantic relationship should always be the highest priority above everything else in a person's life. And when it's not the highest priority, we can get like really hurt and really resentful and really pissed off. And some offshoots of this or ways that it can show up for APs is like, if you loved me, then you would want to spend all of your free time with me. We should spend all of our time together. We should, talk and text every day, all day long. If you loved me, you should always want to come closer. You should always want to get closer. The relationship should just come first before everything else. If you have some free time and there's other things that you need to do, well, why would you need to do other things? Why wouldn't you want to spend time with me? Because the relationship is the most important thing. Or another way it can look as APs, like always considering their partner, always, looking for how their partner might feel or what they might think, and expecting that the romantic partner is doing the same thing for them and they're really not, or expecting that the romantic partner misses them to the same degree that they miss the romantic partner. And sometimes this really comes out of this place of like APs can often be kind of afraid of time alone. It's like, I don't know kind of what to do with myself, and I'm so concerned about sitting with myself and being with myself. I don't know how to do that. So if you're putting the relationship as highest priority, then I'm never going to have to be alone with myself because you're always going to be here. And then the last and final need of the anxious preoccupied attachment style is my partner should meet all of my needs and I should be able to meet all the needs of my partner. And this is just straight up codependence. It's codependence one-on-one. So the way that this looks for APs is like, why would you need anybody else in your life? Why would you need your own interests? Why would you need your own hobbies? Why would you need your own unique things that you like to do? Why would you need time apart from me? Why would you need other relationships? Why would you need friendships? Why would you need time alone? I don't need any of that. You meet all of that for me because we put all of our eggs in the partner basket and we expect the partner to do the same for us, so that when the partner says, hey, I just need some time to chill, or I'm going to hang out with friends, or I really want to spend some time with my family, or, there's a friend I haven't seen in a long time, or I just want to be by myself and watch a movie, the AP really can take that on as sort of this personal affront. Like, well, why would you need that? Am I not everything that you need? Don't I provide everything that you need? and we expect our partners to do the same for us. And that puts such a strain and burden on the relationship. It's so heavy. And so the AP can learn how to communicate what they need, and then they can directly speak to their partner and say like, hey, this is what I'm really wanting in terms of like time together, in terms of what we do in our time together, in terms of how often we communicate during the day. And then there can be this back and forth. There can be this negotiation and dialogue so that both people are honored. Both people are getting some of what they want. You are considering yourself, but you are also considering the other person. These relationship expectations, there's no room for the other person in there. And that's true for all attachment styles. There's no room for, any individual preferences or needs. It's all just about like, hey, this is what I need, and you should be there all the time for me to supply all my needs. So really what I want you guys to take away from this is look for the nuggets in this, and look for what might actually be some valid needs that you could turn into asks of your partner and request. And also, I just wanted to bring these to a conscious level of awareness, because they're quite painful for APs, and we often get really disappointed or really sad or really hurt when we have these unconscious, subconscious expectations floating around, and it just feeds into the beliefs again, the wounds of like, I don't matter, I don't belong, I'm unimportant, I'm rejected, I'm disliked, I'm unloved. So I hope you can see how that really works. And that's why it's so important to really get to the heart of these core wounds and reprogram them. So that is all for the 5 relationship expectations of the AP. Monday, we are going to be moving on to the dismissive avoidant attachment style. And this is for you if you really take feedback as criticism, if you have had partners say to you, like, you never let me in, or I don't know anything about you, or if you feel kind of like broken or defective at your core, if you feel like a relationship should be like, hey, I meet all my needs, you meet all your own needs, and then we occasionally bump into each other. If you need a lot of time and space alone to process, if relationships feel like a drain to you, or if you're in a relationship with somebody who like really easily shuts down or stops communicating, or there's this like really abrupt pull away, you're gonna want to watch these videos, because we're gonna go into the early childhood of what sets a dismissive avoidant up for this. So I hope you'll have a fabulous Monday, and I will look forward to seeing you then. Much love to everybody. Bye-bye.